Alright guys, we have finally made it to the start of this championship season, but before we go ahead and dive in, I thought it would be worth having one final look at the bookies predictions for this upcoming season, and then we can go ahead and compare them to my own predictions come the end of the season to see who was more accurate. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, but without any further ado, let's jump in. Starting out at the bottom of the table, the bookies have gone for Rotherham. No changes from where they had Rotherham placed 3 weeks ago. They do have them as the weakest side in the championship right now. Of a lot of the prediction videos that I've seen on YouTube and social media so far, a fair few people do have Rotherham dropping down. Whether or not they're the weakest side in the league though, not so sure about that. They defied the odds last season and they'll be looking to prove everyone wrong this season, especially the bookmakers who have them bottom. 23rd, the bookies have then gone for Plymouth Argyle. Now, the bookies, interestingly enough, have Plymouth as the weakest of the three sides coming up from League One, despite the fact that it was Plymouth who were the League One champions last season. No changes in their position from 3 weeks ago from the bookies. I think we'll know quite a bit about Plymouth the first month or so into the season, seeing just how competitive they are. Myself personally, I do have them surviving, but the bookies aren't as confident. In 22nd place, we then have the biggest overall faller. It's QPR, who have dropped down 4 places in the bookies' end of season predictions compared to where they had them just 3 weeks ago. Now, I think it is a pretty popular consensus that QPR will be in and around the relegation zone this season. There's still a lot of uncertainty whether Gareth Ainsworth's the right person to lead that squad for a long time. Didn't have an ideal pre-season result on the eve of the new championship season starting as well, and the bookies have them 22nd. Just surviving, and in 21st place, the bookies have then gone for Cardiff. So when we did this video 3 weeks ago, Cardiff were in the bookies' bottom 3. They've since bumped them up by 1 position, and QPR have taken their spot in the bottom 3 since. I've generally liked the look of Cardiff's recruitment so far this summer, considering the embargo they've been under. I think they've got quite creative, especially like their latest pickup of Josh Bowler as well. And yeah, 21st, but I could definitely see maybe Cardiff pushing on from that perhaps. The bookies have also gone ahead, bumped up Huddersfield by 1 place. They now have them 20th in their overall league table, so they do have Huddersfield escaping the relegation zone and having them a little bit more comfy than where the bookies had Huddersfield placed just 3 weeks ago. Still feels like there's quite a bit of business to be done at Huddersfield between now and the end of the window, and tough to make a definitive judgment on them right now. Arguably one of the bookies' boldest predictions so far, they have Birmingham all the way down in 19th. Now, generally speaking, Birmingham have occupied in this region of the table for the past 6 or 7 years now, between the relegation zone and 17th place. But what Birmingham now have at the club is a new reason for optimism. With the new owners coming in, the influx of promising players as well, there is the hope from within that Birmingham camp that they can have a really successful campaign this season and start to finally kick up the league. The bookies isn't quite as confident though, and they do have them 1 place higher than where they were predicted to finish 3 weeks ago, but still all the way down in 19th. Another bold prediction by the bookies right here. They have Sheffield Wednesday in 18th, being a comfy survivor in the end. They've bumped them up by 1 place compared to their predictions 3 weeks ago as well, and I think every Sheffield Wednesday fan would absolutely snatch your hands off for an 18th place finish right now. They are one of the most backsides to go down with content creators, predictions I've seen on social media, on Twitter and things like that as well. A lot of people actually having Wednesday bottom. The bookmakers doesn't share that view though. They've got them all the way up in 18th. When I was making my own personal predictions, I did find Hull quite a tough one to place right now. I could see them being in a range of positions, but the bookies do have Hull in a fairly similar position to where I placed them in my own predictions. They have them all the way down in 17th place. Now, there is the hope that Liam Rossini will build upon last season, where he put the solid foundations in for a good championship side that weren't conceding many goals, albeit didn't have as much going forward as they probably would have liked to. They have added a few elements so far this summer, but the bookies doesn't have that much of an improvement on last season in 17th. In the past 3 weeks, Preston have splashed a little bit of money, and seemingly the bookies are a little bit more confident on our survival chances. Preston have been bumped up to 16th place. Last time we did this video, Preston were down in 17th. This is the sort of region of the table that I do expect Preston to be in, if I'm honest. That sort of lower mid-table right now, looking at the quality of our squad, pitted up against some of the other sides who I think will be in and around us. I'd say in and around 16th is reasonable for Preston right now. No changes whatsoever though when it comes to Bristol City. The bookies still having them in place for a 15th placed finish come the end of the season. What we've seen at Bristol City over these last few years with Nigel Pearson at the helm has been steady sort of progression year upon year. We'll wait and see if that's the case come the end of the season. Very interesting one regarding Swansea, because they've actually dropped down 3 places in the bookies overall table from when we did this video 3 weeks ago. The bookies now have Swansea down in 14th. Now, Swansea, I could see being in a range of positions really, anywhere from that sort of 10th spot, maybe down to as low as 16th. Anywhere in that region of the table I think will be a realistic shout for Swansea right now. They have done some decent recruitment so far, and also perhaps boosted for this season at least by the news that Joel Perreault will be sticking around as well. Still a little bit of uncertainty behind the scenes when it comes to Blackburn Rovers, potential budgets being cut and John Dole Thomason having to be a little bit more creative in the market. No changes whatsoever when it comes to the bookies overall verdict on Blackburn though. They've still got them in that 13th place position. A little bit more optimism when it comes to Millwall. The bookies have bumped them up by 2 places since we last did this video. They've got them bang in the middle of the table right now in 12th place. Myself personally, I think Millwall will be a little bit higher than that. I do see them being in and around on the verge of the top 6 again. Maybe not quite with enough quality once again to go ahead and finally bridge that gap into the top 6, but I personally would bump Millwall up a little bit, but around 12th is still a reasonable prediction, I'd say. Big call here from the bookies because they do have Sunderland in 11th place right now. They've actually dropped them down by 1 place based on their predictions from 3 weeks ago as well, which I think is quite interesting. It is a very young squad that Tony Mowbray's got at his disposal right now. They've added a lot more youth in this summer so far, and also with the experience of Bradley Dack coming in as well. Do see Sunderland being there or thereabouts in the playoff hunt this season, but the bookies does have them falling short. This is where things start to get interesting though, because we get into the top 10, and despite Stoke having a real influx of transfer activity over these past 3 weeks, the bookies have actually dropped them down 3 places based on the current promotion odds. When we previously looked into this, the bookies had Stoke all the way up in 7th. They've now got them in 10th, which would still represent a massive improvement on where they've been finishing in the past few seasons. Obviously, Alex Neil got quite a bit of work to do to go ahead and gel all of these new players and new parts together, but there's definitely the potential that if things do click for Stoke, there is a lot of quality in their squad right now. Another big call by the bookies here. They've got Coventry in 9th place, which is actually a bump up of 3 places compared to where they had them predicted to finish just 3 weeks ago. Now, we have seen quite a bit of transfer activity from Coventry over these past 3 weeks. Obviously, the Victor Gyökeres sale went through, but they've wasted absolutely no time in going ahead and splashing that cash and redistributing it all throughout the squad to strengthen the overall core of that side. But the bookies does have them falling short of the top 6. Watford are a bit of a tough call right now, and I think this one and where you predict them currently falls on how much you rate Valérien Ismaël as a manager and how much he'll actually get out of this Watford side, and whether or not he'll be given the time to go ahead and make things click with them. There has been quite a big overhaul in that squad, a lot of quality lost and a lot of players let go that I think it was probably right for Watford to go ahead and do that. Still in the relatively early stages of an overall club rebuild, it feels like, and the bookies does have Watford just to miss out on the top 6, but an 8th place finish would be an improvement on last year. And then just missing out on the top 6, the bookies then has West Brom. This is a bump up of 1 place compared to where the bookies had West Brom predicted to finish just 3 weeks ago. Seen a whole range of predictions regarding West Brom with content creators so far. We've still got a little bit of uncertainty behind the scenes and how much Corberan will actually be backed in this window. What I would still say is, while they are probably short of quite a bit of depth in some areas, the quality in the starting 11 and the quality of the manager is definitely still good enough to be there or thereabouts in the top 6 chase. It's just a question of whether the carpet will be pulled from underneath Corberan at some point of the season. As we then get into the top 6, not all too much has changed by the bookies over these past 3 weeks. They still have the exact same top 6, maybe not in the exact same order, but they're still fairly confident in the 6 sides who do make it over the line. In 6th place it is Norwich, coming off the back of a massive underachievement from last season. The bookies do see them slightly getting their act back together this season and pushing for a top 6 finish and just about getting over the line. I think Norwich fans would take that right now. Although I'm not so sure that they'd be happy about their arch rivals finishing one place above them. A lot of people are quite hot on Ipswich right now. I put them in a good mid-table finish, just outside the playoffs actually, but the Bookies has gone all the way and is tipping them to finish in the top 6 this season, a 5th place finish. Now, it's not unheard of teams going immediately from League One into the Championship playoffs. We saw Sunderland do it last season. Before that, I think I remember Brentford doing it in their first season up in the Championship after they were promoted from League One. So it's certainly not unheard of. We have seen sides have that trajectory from League One promotion straight into battling it out at the top end of the Championship. And comparing the strengths and weaknesses of each of the 3 coming up from League One this season, you probably would have to put it as Ipswich as the most likely to go ahead and do that for a number of factors. But 5th place still feels like a bold call right now. Found this one quite interesting from the Bookies. They've dropped Southampton down to 4th place. So when we previously looked into the promotion odds, the 3 favourites for promotion were the 3 that were coming down from the Premier League. And while all those sides are still in the top 4, they have dropped Southampton down to 4th place. Myself personally, I had Southampton 2nd in my end of season predictions, but the Bookies currently has them as the weakest of the 3 coming into the Championship this season, which I think is quite interesting. 4th place finish, so still going to be battling it out for promotion, but not getting over the line for an automatic spot according to the Bookies. And with Southampton dropping down 1 place, they've gone ahead and lifted Middlesbrough by 1 place. They've got Borough up in 3rd right now, just missing out on automatic promotion, but knocking on the door for a top 2 finish. Still a little bit of uncertainty around Middlesbrough right now. Still feels as if a little bit more work is needed on that squad to get it up to the same standard that it was last season, particularly, with those losses of those loan players, and how can they go ahead and fill those gaps of quality. Still a very competitive side though, and a manager in Michael Carrick who is rated very highly after how well he got that Middlesbrough side playing last season and the sort of mess he had inherited earlier on in the season. And then from the Bookies perspective, it's exactly the same top 2. 2nd place, the Bookies do have Leeds United, and generally speaking, they have still kept hold of a number of big stars who I thought would have left by this point in the window. The fact that we are now on the eve of this Championship season starting, there is still a hell of a lot of quality within that Leeds squad. Also have a manager in Daniel Farke who knows the Championship like the back of his hand, having won the Championship League title twice previously with Norwich. Does still feel like Leeds have a little bit more to do in the transfer window though, all been a little bit slow in terms of the overall incomings, but generally speaking, they are still in a good position to challenge for promotion. And I don't think many people expected much change here, but the Bookies do have Ipswich as the outright favourites to win the Championship this season. And I think a lot of us fans of the Championship are also on a similar line of thinking right now. The unknown with Leicester right now is Enzo Maresca. We don't know how he's going to take to Championship football, whether that will be an instant transition, it'll take time, and whether or not Leicester will afford him that sort of time. But looking into the quality, the way they've invested into this squad so far, I wouldn't be surprised if more big signings were still to come. Don't get me wrong, Leicester have lost some big stars, but still the quality in that side is there to challenge for automatic promotion, and the Bookies, like a lot of people, have them down as the outright favourites. But guys, there we have it. As you can see to the side of me, those are the final Bookies predictions for this upcoming Championship season. Before a ball has been kicked, that is what the Bookies are currently saying for the league table. Would like to get some of your guys' perspectives on this one in the comments down below. Do you think the Bookies have been harsh or kind to anyone? But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. And I'll see you all in the next one.